Hello and welcome to Capitol Hill. I'm Julie Doyle. In just 2 hours, the Treasurer Wayne Swan will get to his feet to deliver his fourth budget, a budget that will focus on getting people off welfare and into work. Joining me this afternoon to discuss the budget, we have Liberal MP Dan Tehan and Labor MP Stephen Jones. Thank you both for coming in.
Thanks, Julie. Good to be with you.
Now we'll start with you, Stephen Jones. The government's been talking tough about this budget. Will we see the hard decisions though tonight?
I'd describe this budget as a classic Labor budget, one that ensures that we look after the disadvantaged and the people who are battling. We've got a two-speed economy. We know that we've got a challenge to bring the budget back into surplus by 2013. We will meet that challenge, but we will meet it in a way that doesn't leave anybody behind.
Has there been a case, though, of softening us up, talking tough, so that we won't be so shocked by what we see tonight?
Look, there'll be some surprises in the budget tonight, but our priorities have been set out not only in the last couple of weeks or the last couple of months. We've been quite clear with the Australian people. Our priorities are to ensure that every Australian has the opportunity to work, every opportunity that is available to them to get a job. So we're not going to be leaving people behind. We're going to be looking after those people who've struggled to find employment opportunities, and we'll be meeting their needs, helping to get them off welfare. We'll be making mental health a priority in this budget and over the next couple of years, and we'll be ensuring that we provide some tax relief to low income earners to help them balance their family budgets as well.
Well, Dan Tehan, do you think the tough talk that we've seen will translate into action tonight?
Well, I don't think we will. I think what we've heard is tough, but we've already seen leak nearly $6 billion worth of extra spending. The budget deficit is likely to be equal to the whole of the state budget handed down by the Victorian government last week. So that's our second biggest economy. The size of their budget, what we will get is a budget deficit of that size announced today. And I'm hoping that Wayne Swan will have the political courage to actually use the word budget deficit in this budget, because he didn't last year because he was so embarrassed with the size of the deficit. So I hope he'll have the political courage to do it again, to do it tonight.
Stephen Jones, you think we will hear him talk about deficit?
Dan uses the word embarrassing. What I found embarrassing is on the a few hours before the budget, we just sat through a question time, not one question about economic matters. They haven't got an economic agenda, they haven't got a policy, just opposition. And we will see a good budget, one fit for the time, one that deals with the patchwork economy. So we are withdrawing spending in some areas to ensure that we don't overheat the economy. But I stress again, we're going to do this in a classic Labor way, which looks after ordinary working people, and the people are battling to help them get back into work and help them to manage their family budgets.
Dan Tehan, your response to that?
My response to that, well, let's take welfare to work. We've seen work for the dole programs cut. I've seen examples of it in my electorate, where we now have community organisations that were using work for the dole who aren't able to do so now, and their community facilities are suffering as a result. And now we hear that the Treasurer is going to get tough, and we're going to see welfare to work be a priority of this budget. I mean, we're getting mixed messages wherever we go from this Treasurer. He doesn't seem to know what the left hand and the right hand are doing, and I think we're going to see a lot of surprises in this budget, because we will see surprises that we just weren't expecting from this Treasurer, because he doesn't seem to know what he's doing.
Well, that's been the opposition line we've seen the past couple of weeks. The Shadow Treasurer saying that the government is sending a muddled message by talking about a tough budget, but then leaking announcements or making announcements about spending. So that's you maintain that's the case?
Oh, absolutely, that's the case. I mean, I don't know. I would love to be able to count the amount of times we've seen the Prime Minister and the Treasurer use the words tough budget, and yet what we're seeing is $6 billion worth of leaked spending announcements come out in the last week. So what is the government about? Is it about a tough budget? Is it trying to keep spending down so that we'll keep interest rates down? I mean, one of the problems we're already seeing is the Reserve Bank saying that interest rates are likely to go up in the second half of this year. What will the budget do to try and stop that from happening? I don't think it will do anything, and that's going to hurt working families a lot lot. It's going to impact on cost of living pressures, and it's going to do nothing for our economy. So, look, it's going to be interesting to see what the Treasurer delivers, but I'm not hopeful there'll be anything sensible.
And Stephen Jones, has the government been sending mixed messages here?
No, absolutely not. Our priority is jobs, getting people into work, and we've created close to 500,000 jobs since we've been in office, and more to come. We are now looking at an unemployment rate below 5%. That means those people who are not in work are facing real barriers to work, and they're the ones that we're focusing on what are the obstacles to those people moving from welfare to work and dealing with those problems in a targeted way. And it's very easy for Dan to talk tough and say that there should be more cuts. What he hasn't explained is where those cuts are going to come from and how they fill in that $11 billion black hole that was in his own leaders' costings that he took to the last election. When they're talking about needing to cut spending, but they have $11 billion that are unaccounted for in their own policy proposals. So we'll balance the books in 2012, 2013, and we'll ensure that we don't take to family budgets with the back of an axe in the meantime, because we're about bringing people along with us and dealing with this two-speed patchwork economy.
Dante?
Well, look, it's interesting that Stephen can say that, and we can go back and forth on this. I would raise the question, why did the Prime Minister announce on the weekend, just before the budget, her change in asylum seeker policy? Was that to try and throw the discussion away from the budget? It was a very strange time. Or was that to hide the holes in her asylum seeker policy? Where, once again, there is no narrative to go with this budget. The message is all over the place, and it would be the first government, I think, in Australia's history to announce a major policy shift on the eve of a budget to try and take the focus away from that budget. It is going to be an enormous budget deficit. There is nothing there now for a rainy day. If we got a downturn in China, which affected our resource industries, there's nothing in the budget to save us. We will be heading further and further into debt. 100 million a day we were borrowing. That's going to increase after this budget. There is problems, and we just aren't doing the things that we should be doing to make sure our future is secure.
Now, you said there that there's been no narrative to this budget, but hasn't the government been very clear getting out there saying that the main theme of this budget, the centrepiece, is going to be this welfare to work package?
Well, they might have been doing that, but in the meantime, over the last couple of years, they've been cutting. No, they've been cutting work for the dole. So why now are they coming out?
Where's unemployment now? It's at below 5%. We've created nearly 500,000 jobs, and we are now dealing with the really hard cases, the people who have major obstacles to joining the workforce. We are saying the way to deal with those people is to provide some assistance. In the case of teenage mums, help them with their childcare, help them manage their social system situations, but insist that in return for that assistance and the financial assistance, that we get them either back into the education system to complete their high school education, or get them into work, or a combination. What's your proposal? What's your solution?
It wouldn't be...
You're talking about this stuff, but you haven't come up with a positive alternative.
No, well, it wouldn't be to cut work for the dole programs over the last 2 years and then sort of all come out and say that, we're going to get tough and we're going to, increase welfare to work and try and get people on. Why haven't you been doing that over the last 2 years? Where's the consistency? It seems to be that as soon as there is a problem, we'll just throw this at it. We won't think about the future. We won't think about the long term. We don't have an economic plan for the country. It's just ad hoc decision making, one time after the other.
Let's just move on to some of the particular things that we know about, some of the spending perhaps on the other side. Now, a big package for mental health. Stephen Jones, is this long overdue?
In my view, yes. I've worked in the sector before I became a parliamentarian, and I think there's not an Australian who hasn't been touched by the issue, a family member, a friend, or even themselves personally. So we know that we have to do a lot more. It has been one of the hidden health problems, and I think a few high-profile cases over the last 4 or 5 years has brought it to the fore. governments at all levels need to do more. So I'm pleased that there appears to be a bipartisan view on this, that we need to do more in the area of mental health, and I'm sure that there'll be some important announcements on that in that area in the budget tonight.
So Dan Tehan and the opposition would support those measures?
Well, the Labor government, the Gillard government, has been dragged kicking and screaming to the table on this issue. The coalition...
Spending 3 times more than you did when
the
you were in
coalition...
power.
I've let you have your go, Stephen, you can let me have mine.
I certainly will.
The coalition obviously set out a very good policy at the last election. It looks like Labor are going to come on board now, which is a very good thing. But we will still have to wait and see, because our worry is that all the spending will be over the next sort of 3 to 5 years. What we need to see now is money immediately to address this problem. So let's wait and see. It seems the leaked rhetoric is there, but let's see the detail, and let's see they'll actually deliver this money in a timely and effective way. It is an important issue. I'm glad now that the Labor government supports the coalition in a bipartisan way, because we've set out a very clear approach on this, but we have to wait and see what the detail is, because it could be that the detail means that we won't see the spending that's needed until 3 or 4 years' time.
Now, Dan Tehan, the opposition's taken an approach by keeping the focus even today on the carbon tax and talking about something that's not even in the budget. Now, why have you taken that approach?
Well, why isn't it in the budget? I mean, that's one of the big
unknown
questions.
So how can you put something in the budget that's not finalised?
Well, it should be in the budget, because we know that the mining tax, for instance, will be in the budget. Now, the mining budget, the details still aren't finalised, and it will come in on the 1st of July next year, the same as the carbon tax.
But it's a lot further, the development is a lot further down the track, though.
No, well, the government is prepared to roll out all the figures based on the old CPRS model, so why don't they put in there an estimate on, say, on a $26 a tonne carbon price, and put some of those figures in the forward estimates. We know that based on $26 that we're looking at $11 billion of revenue for the government in the first year of the carbon tax, and upward of $30 billion in the forward estimates. Why isn't that in the budget? We need to know that.
3 good reasons why not. Number one, it never has been the approach that a policy which is not yet finalised is included in the budget, would never pass any standard accounting rules. It's why, by the way, in 1997, May 97, when John Howard announced the GST, it didn't appear in the May 97 budget or the May 1998 budget. So it's never been done, and it never will be done. Second reason, it hasn't been finalised because we're still consulting with industry and stakeholders. Third reason, this is going to be revenue neutral, because every single dollar that is raised through the pricing of carbon will be either redirected into compensating households or helping industry adjust, or into research and development into more clean energy technologies. So it will be budget neutral. It's never been done in the past, and Dan, you'll just have to wait. You'll have to wait a few more months until the legislation hits the Parliament, and then I'm sure you can trot out all your fear lines that your leader has been practising for the last 6 months, and you'll be able to recycle them then, but not tonight.
Well, gentlemen, I'm afraid that's where we're going to have to leave it for today. We'll have to wait for another couple of hours and see the full detail when the Treasurer delivers his speech. So thank you very much for joining us on Capitol Hill today. We'll be back again tomorrow.